Welcome back. Futures fighting off new records. Take a look. Dow Industrials now in uncharted territory once again after hitting at an all-time high yesterday. The Dow futures are up 7 points. S&P futures down just a fraction, and the Nasdaq is also up 0.75 of a point. It looks like we may very well see another record high out of the gate this morning. It will be a busy couple of days on the economic calendar on this holiday shortened trading week. Later this morning, we will get a reading on the consumer confidence plus the Case-Shiller home price index. Meanwhile, Chinese retail company Alibaba officially listed on the Hong Kong exchange. Susan Lee covering the story this morning with some details. Good morning, Susan.
Yeah, originally pulled, Maria, back in August because of the ongoing Hong Kong protests. But Alibaba went ahead last night and selling shares in Hong Kong in their home market, they say, which is closer to home. So it was a glitzy listing ceremony. Joe Tsai was in attendance. Jack Ma not in attendance. Daniel Zhang, the CEO now of Alibaba, also there as well. And they raised about $11.2 billion. They might green shoe it, which is to sell more shares because of the performance, up to $13 billion raised. And this is the largest listing in Hong Kong since 2010. So that brings the cash pile of Alibaba up to $43 billion because there are some parts of the business that aren't making money. We know that the online retail part doing well, but when it comes to food delivery, when it comes to Alibaba Pictures and their entertainment division and also the YouTube of China, that's actually requiring money because they are still not making money in those specific businesses. But this is something that Jack Ma, I guess this is a fulfillment of Jack Ma's vision because he wanted to list the shares in Hong Kong, which is closer to their home, where people might understand their business better. Originally, that 2014 record-breaking New York Stock Exchange listing was supposed to go to Hong Kong, but because of the class structure, the share class structure back then, which didn't allow for super voting rights for the owners and the founders, they decided to go to New York instead. But Maria, I think the takeaway is that this is really a vote of confidence for Hong Kong, whether or not they were forced to do this by the government. They basically had to backstop what was happening in the city and to give confidence that we still want to be here, and Hong Kong is still one of the largest stock markets in the world.
Well, better late than never, I guess, on that listing, too, Susan. And you know what's nice, I guess, about Alibaba in the United States as far as the nicey is that at least that worked out okay. I mean, it wasn't a bad listing as far as, the stock performed pretty well, but good to see them getting a nice pop on the first day.
They've actually outperformed Apple. Yeah. They've outperformed Google, Facebook in the last month. Actually, one of the best performers
how is
in New
their
York.
Financial arm doing? Alipay, they're a virtual bank unto themselves.
That is actually not part of Alibaba. That was taken out on its own, all of it, as its separate entity. Masa-san was not happy at the time when he found out about it. But Alipay on its own is worth one of the largest payment companies in the world, worth tens of billions. So Alibaba itself is more about the retail arm. And as we know, the Chinese consumer is still spending, as you saw on Singles Day, in one single day, selling $38 billion worth.
Susan, how would Alibaba spend some of that cash hoard? You mentioned the money-losing businesses, but would acquisitions be on deck, so to speak?
Oh, that's a good question. We know that they have been acquiring a few properties. The SCMP, the South China Morning Post, I'm not sure that was exactly money-making for them or a venture to actually make money in the future. However, they say they want to reinvest in delivery companies. They have the Uber Eats or the Ele.me. That's what it's called in China. The food delivery company. They also want to invest in Alibaba Pictures since entertainment is a big venture for them. I think there are more screens in China than there are here in the U.S. So that's something that they see as a growth sector for them.
Jack Ma is an important soldier for the Chinese government. I mean, they acquired the South China Morning Post. Now it is a total mouthpiece for the Chinese government. And didn't Jack Ma come out a couple of months ago and once again, reiterate, I am a part of the Communist Party? Remember that?
If we're operating in China, I think most of the you have to be part and a subscriber to the Communist Party. And a lot of these private companies, Alibaba being the largest in China, will say that we are a private entity. And they try to moat themselves as much as they can across the government.
You're right.
I'm just pointing it out because it's doing your IPO on Hong Kong Stock Exchange today in the face of 6 months of protesters trying to legitimize what's going on in Hong Kong. The water is fine. Come on in. We're taking our company public, even though there's all these people in the streets and people are questioning the authoritative rule of China in Hong Kong.
And it might be actually a very lucrative year for IPOs if Aramco decides in the next few weeks to also go to Hong Kong as well. So the stock market is actually up 5% despite the ongoing chaos.
Wow, that is interesting. Susan, thank you. Quick break, and then retail is in focus. Another big day for earnings with Abercrombie & Fitch.